meeting for January 27, 2025. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Hoare, roll call.
Mr. Borthwick?
Here.
Mr. Casey?
Here.
Mrs. Chesak?
Present.
Ms. Fox? Oh. I don't see them here. Hold on. Let me... Sorry about that. Okay, Ms. Fox is not here. Ms. Goodmartin? Nope. Ms. Merkel?
Here.
Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Mrs. Johnny?
Present.
Mr. Holmes?
Present.
7 present, 2 absent.
Before we begin the Vendor Relationships Committee meeting, we turn it over to the superintendent.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to 2025. I just want to go over 2 things with everyone before the meeting starts. The first is to go over the concept of building reconfiguration, and the second is to talk about immigration. First, on Wednesday, it will be our PDE monitoring meeting with committee members in the city. And during that meeting, people are going to get a 50,000-foot perspective of a plan that I submitted to the board on the 27th of December. My understanding is that some people may have been able to get a sneak peek or a little preview of this plan, but I want to make sure that everyone understands that the cover letter to that plan very clearly said to the board members that I was given a task that part of our recovery plan very specifically talks about looking at finances, and that part of my work was to put a plan together that took the district 7, 10, 20 years into the future. Also in that cover letter, though, was a very clear message that said, this is just a starting point. You may accept some of this, none of this, or all of this. You may tell me to go back and to come up with new information. So I just want to make sure that people know that when I go over these ideas at the meeting on Wednesday, that it is a starting point. I am hoping that the first thing that we can do as a board is to meet in a work session with members of the senior cabinet so that questions could be asked about a written document, a lengthy written document. I think it was about 14 pages long that I gave them for clarification. Absolutely, positively no deliberation whatsoever, just for them to be able to ask questions. Once that's done, then it's going to come out to the public for all of you to be able to have that same opportunity to ask questions and to give information. So I just wanted to put that on the record so that everybody understood this is not, Aaron said we have to do this. This is a starting point of conversation, a starting point of deliberation, and a starting point of looking at where we need to be 20 years from now so that the Scranton School District is still the most awesome urban school district in the state of Pennsylvania. And I just never not returned a phone call, never not sat and listened to somebody, so please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or concerns. The next thing that I want to talk about is immigration and the changes through the executive order. I know that there's a lot of feelings and emotions from the information that's being reported on the news, from the information that people are sharing with each other, from your personal feelings and beliefs over the topic. So as a district, it is my priority and the priority of all of the administrators, the teachers, and the staff members in this district to ensure the health, the safety, and the welfare of the students of the Scranton School District. That is always our top priority. Before we do anything else, before we teach a kid, we want to make sure they're safe and that they're okay to be in school. So that will always remain our top priority. To deal with a change in law like this, to deal with something that's wildly different, I shared with the board 27 years in education. We're building the airplane in the air on this one right now. This is not something we've done before. We're making sure that we're open and transparent and that we have resources available for anyone in the community or in the district. First and foremost, we have open conversations with local law enforcement. We make sure we share information on a regular basis. We make sure we call and seek clarification when necessary. The other really important thing is we make sure that we talk to our city partners as well. I'm really excited. Tomorrow I'm having lunch with the mayor, and I know this will be one of the topics that we talk about. But if there is a committee going on in the city, I've asked to please make sure that the district is represented on that type of committee. We talk to our legal team all the time. Attorney Huerta is sitting next to me right now. We make sure that what we're doing is being vetted through them, so we are doing the right things legally. And they are part of the conversation of all of the documents that we're putting together to address this change in law. The other thing that we're doing right now is if you log on to our webpage, you'll see that there's a pin on our webpage. Anyone with questions or concerns regarding any of the changes in immigration, Assistant Superintendent Al O'Donnell is your single point of contact. If you go on to our webpage, you will see his email and the phone number to reach him. He is there. Please don't hesitate to reach out to him. He has been designated in that role. We're also making sure that through our guidance counselors and our social workers, under the direction of Mrs. Hemphill, that we are wrapping any student who has any kind of concerns or anxiety or fear or needs special attention with the support services, the mental health support services that we have in school. We have always had a really strong social and emotional learning program through Character Strong, and I've encouraged the staff and the administration to make sure that we're still operating that program with fidelity. We had a meeting last Thursday evening with all of our administration in the district to go over protocols that we've put in place, that if somebody did come to a school from a federal agency or entity, how we would make sure that we handled that situation. So that has gone over. And then meetings were also held with guidance counselors, social workers, and specifically our English language teachers. We will continue to hold such meetings to update people on a regular basis. We are also creating under the Families tab on the web page a resource for immigration that we will be populating to help support families or anyone who has questions or concerns. So that is a new entity that will be added to the web page as well. At this time, I'm just going to ask Mr. O'Donnell, who will be the single point of contact, to say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Keating. On behalf of the school district, we are here to help support your children and your families. And if there are any questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out and to call the school district administration building or to email me. We are in uncharted waters, so there will be changes along the way. But always remember, we will keep the three things in mind: that we are here to protect the health, safety, and the welfare of the children of the Scranton School District.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. I just wanted to make sure, normally I don't talk at work sessions, but I wanted to make sure I covered those two important concepts tonight for everyone, so that one, maybe I could settle some rumors about the reconfiguration plan, and two, that we got this information out there, as I know there's a lot of questions over immigration at this time. So I thank you, President Holmes, and the board for allowing me this opportunity to speak at tonight's work session.
Thank you. We'll now turn the meeting over to Defender Relations Committee Chair, Director Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. On tonight's agenda, I hope that it'll be short. I wanted to make sure that the board realized that we're now in the process of bidding Tier 1 contracts. Tier 1, I believe, came as a recommendation from the administration.
Director Casey, if you'll let me, on September the 8th, I had set out correspondence to the school board on a list of numerous RFPs that over the course of the year had expired or would expire, and I set very specific tiers of meeting the RFP requirements of making sure they went out publicly. Tier 1 looked at school physician services, which is on this night's agenda. It also looked at athletic training services, which has already been awarded. It looked at hiring a healthcare consultant, which is on this night's agenda, and it also looked at HVAC and plumbing, which have previously been awarded. It also had photocopiers on there, But photocopiers, I'm learning, are much more complex than I thought. Working with Mr. Suma, who is the Director of Technology, we are scrutinizing a design for photocopiers right now. And it's really important that we take our time doing this because we're looking at moving to managed print services and also to electronic faxing. In addition to that, Mr. Suma is individually meeting with each of the building principals in the future to examine the current photocopier design and the volume and capacity of each machine to put together what truly is the best RFP and design for the district. So when these went out, that was a month-to-month, we are still on month-to-month with Fraser, our current provider, and we're going to continue on that while we take our time to truly do this the right way and meet the needs of the staff in each individual building for photocopier design. So that one is going to take some time. Tier 2 RFPs, I put a memo in this week's board packet that we will be moving to those, which will look at legal services, construction management, and school security officers. In addition to those, by law, we must also put out food service. So I am ensuring that I follow along with the document that was initially sent to the school board and will continue to move through those tiers as they were written to you as per September 8th.
And all these are going out for RFPs, correct?
The next round will be going out now that we get through the work session tonight and we go through recommended candidates for tier 1.
We're going to have the ones that you mentioned and the ones for
Food service,
food service,
correct.
legal services, architectural and engineering.
Construction management and school security officers.
Am I correct?
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure that the board knew that these were all going out for RFPs, so that everybody knew, so that we don't get somebody coming back saying, well, I didn't know we were doing this, I didn't know. This is more of a way that we can be transparent and make sure that all board members are aware of what's being bid.
Correct.
Is
The
there like,
other item on the agenda.
I just have one question. Is there a schedule on there, like when a timeline of when each one is going out, so we know?
I'm hoping to get them out between this weekend, really beginning of next week, now that we move through tonight's work session.
Okay.
We need to meet with Mr. Carney on the school security officers to clean a couple more things up. That's the last one that we want to tweak before we send them out. I'd like to see them advertised within 24 to 48 hours of each other.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
The other item on vendor relations tonight, I saw a text or an email from Director Fox who wanted some questions. Is she on the phone now?
Director Fox,
She's not.
She's
She
not?
did not sign on yet.
I am ready to talk about the electric buses.
Okay, well, she had some concerns and I wanted to honor her request.
So there were questions on the electric buses, and I'm very happy that tonight, once I go through my spiel in the audience, our representatives from Pete's Garage and our Supervisor of Transportation, Mrs. Julie Maloney. So on January the 13th, there was a meeting that was held with central office staff, with representatives from Rohrer Buses, from representatives from Thomas Built Buses, and with representatives of Pete's Garage to specifically address the concerns of why we don't have our fleet of electric buses running at this time. What we learned from that is that there are issues with the buses charging, with the chargers themselves, and with the buses actually holding a charge. The representatives from Rohrer Bus are scheduled to be on site starting February the 2nd, and they told us on that call that they would be here for a week, and by the end of the week, everything should be working. The representatives from Thomas Built Buses were talking about how there was a problem with the 12-volt batteries from what I would assume in my understanding, the construction phase. I understand getting these buses operational is extremely important, and I will continue to meet with everyone. I would like to squash one rumor, though, that I keep hearing, that we had a bus broke down on the side of Interstate 81. That is not true and never happened. We did have an electric bus on the way home from a wrestling meet from Abington Heights, run out of electricity on the side of the Morgan Highway. The other bus, which was leaving the same location, was able to, on their way back to the high school, stop and pick those individuals up. But there was never an electric bus on the side of 81. The only time we ran out of a charge was on the Morgan Highway coming from a wrestling meet. So I would just like to clarify that for everyone. We are going to, after the Roar Bus Company is here, the first week of February, we are going to meet again to review the status, and I will immediately update the board in a formal board memo once that happens. So that is the recap and the timeline of where we are right now. If Mrs. Maloney and anyone from the bus company would like to come up to the microphone, if there are specific board questions that I can't answer, the representatives are here. I would like to take 1 second though, because we always dwell on the negative, and tell you something positive. During the cold snap last week, there were a lot of local districts that had major issues with busing. I did not know that diesel fuel turned into a gel and became a big problem when it became -9 outside. Our bus company treats the fuel and brings people in overnight if they have to run the buses, and we did not have any problems with our buses during the cold snap. So we always focus on the negative. It's nice to hear a positive. I will now open the floor up to any type of questions.
No, I don't have any questions. I think Pete Scratch does a great job. I also think this is a Thomas Aurora issue with, the issue that's going on with the buses. So hopefully when they come in, they fix it. And other than that, I have no questions or concerns.
This isn't causing any kind of interruption of service because Pete's already has the buses, correct?
No, they're still running the diesel buses while we're waiting to fix the issues with the electric
So
buses.
it's a matter of the transition is being stalled.
Right, but there is, and what I think the main concern here is that there is money that should be coming back to the district once this fleet is on the road. So we want to get this fleet on the road.
Have they breached a contract? Can we go after them for that money we're missing?
John Freund was reviewing that contract, but at this point there was no breach that he knew of.
So just the fact
Now-
that they delivered failed buses.
You're saying Roar, not...
Roar, yeah,
Okay.
and Thomas, yeah.
Yeah.
Pete's is
So
doing a
he's-
phenomenal
there
job.
you
The fact
go.
that they're providing buses and having to
My
deal with this
under-
issue is crazy.
My understanding is, and I could be wrong here, I don't believe there's a direct contract. I don't know that we have privity with Roar.
So it would
and
probably
Thomas.
be, you're saying it'd be
Right,
between
right,
Pete's and...
right,
okay,
correct.
all right,
So
that
that's why
makes
there's no breach in that sense.
sense. Gotcha.
She's on.
Okay.
I don't know if she has any questions.
I don't know if she has any specific questions, and I feel bad if she missed my lecture.
I believe she heard it.
Okay.
Catherine, do you have anything you want to add or ask? Catherine? She must not.
At this time, does anybody have anything else for vendor relations? If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
You have to yield back to the president.
I give it back to you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Does anyone need a break? Okay. Call to order to the work session for January 27th. Roll call.
Mr. Borthwick?
Here.
Mr. Casey?
Here.
Mrs. Chesak? Present. Ms. Fox?
Present.
I'm putting them in. Ms. Goodmartin? No. Okay. Ms. Merkel? Present. Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Mrs. Yanni?
Yes, present.
Mr. Holmes?
Present.
8 present, 1 absent.
Budget and Finance.
So under the consent agenda, we'll have a motion to approve the bill list and exception bill list, motion to approve delinquent tax reports, motion to approve treasurer's reports, motion to approve repository sales, motion to approve budget transfers, motion to approve disposal of assets, motion to approve budgeted purchases. On the non-consent agenda, we have a motion to approve 2025 general obligation bonds authorizing resolution. And next up, then we have a discussion and motion on real estate assessment approvals, if any. Is that something you want to talk about there?
Certainly, yeah. So Under the 2025 general obligation bonds authorizing resolutions, Mike Vind is here to discuss this. You obviously remember Mike from just a few months ago when we were here for the 2024 bonds. Mike, thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I don't know if you recall, but I'll give a little bit of a refresher. We went out with an RFP for underwriting services for both the 24 and 25 bonds at the end of last year. The reason we split up the issuance into two separate issues was we were able to, if we only issued up to $10 million in any given calendar year, we got what's called bank qualification treatment, which allowed for a lower interest rate and more flexible terms on refinancing if the school district would so choose to do so in the future. So this is the second piece of that. It's for the remaining $17 million to go into your capital projects. It is in the budget that was passed in 2025. Again, this is just an extension of what we had already started back in 24. We would have done it all at once, except again for what I just went through on being able to get some bank qualification. If the school board is okay with that, we would move for your consideration for a resolution at the next meeting. In addition, there are some bond issues that are currently callable, which means just like a home mortgage, you have the ability to refinance bonds if it makes economic sense. This resolution would also authorize the refinancing of the 2017 C and D bonds. They're outstanding at approximately $22 million. The refinancing authorizing would make sure that we at least get a certain level of net savings to the district before that would happen, before the refunding would take place. In addition, the refinancing would not extend the term at all. Those bonds go out to 2035, I believe. The refunding bonds would go out to 2035 as well. So we're not going to be extending or kicking the can down the road at all. It's just a simple high to low refinancing, going from a higher interest rate to a lower interest rate if we can achieve the net savings that the school district sets. So it's two parts. The remaining $17 million of capital projects that we had discussed last year, as well as adding in these refinancings that were not available to us. They are currently callable this year. That's why we did not have them in the last year's resolution.
And so to my understanding, what you'll do is pay attention to the interest rates, and if you believe that they're favorable, you'll make a call to Mr. Laffey and make a recommendation?
Correct, absolutely.
And you have an estimated target of the dollar amount worth of savings that you're looking at?
The industry standard is a net present value of 2%. So that would equate to approximately $500,000 to $600,000 of net savings to the school district. The school district board has the option of setting whatever number that it could be. Any amount of savings, it could be $1 million. You know, you have the sole ability. So part of your deliberations, that number's not going to be in the resolution. You would just verbally tell us, you know, what threshold the school board would like to.
And Pat, you'll bring that to us when it makes
That's correct.
economic sense.
Yes.
But having in the resolution allows us some flexibility to move faster if, in the event that rates start moving more favorably in the district's favor.
And again, I would just note, you know, obviously the district has a large amount of capital needs. Some of the things that, while this money wasn't specifically targeted just yet, there are some projects that we have deferred that were identified in our capital improvement plan, such as some of the roofs that we looked to apply for grant funding for this past fall, some district-wide paving, some district-wide masonry repairs, chiller upgrades, et cetera. So there's plenty of need where these dollars could be allocated towards. Thank you, Mike.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And then lastly, we have information, a contracts update.
Yep, so just the discussion motion of real estate assessment approvals. I did talk to Attorney Huerta earlier this afternoon. There is one that we are working on, he's working on finalizing. We will get a full report and write up to the board for this weekend's packet for your consideration next Monday, okay? And then from a information contracts update, there are two. Moving back to the bond side of things, we entered into agreement with arbitrage rebate counselors to perform the arbitrage rebate calculation for our 2023 bonds. The first rate calculation is at a cost of $1,750. The second year will be at a cost of $1,250 for a total of $3,000. Okay, and the last is a pool maintenance contract with Brewster Safety Training. This at a rate of $20 per hour that will be used to help maintain the pools at West Scranton, West Scranton Intermediate School and Scranton High School.
All right, thank you.
Community Relations. Director Merkel, will you take it since Director Gamar's not here?
Yes. We will have a motion to approve donations, transportation costs for Scranton High School to Lackawanna College from EOC and SA Scranton High School to ESU. A baby grand piano to Scranton High from Stephanie and RJ Williams, and the Little Free Library to Prescott Elementary.
Education Director Fox.
She asked that I read for her.
Okay.
Will be provided information regarding student information system vendors.
Mr. Suma's ready to talk about that, maybe? Mr. Suma?
Good evening, everyone. Just an update. I know this is a topic that I've broached a couple of times, standing here in front of you, just to talk about all of the program evaluations that we're doing across the board. This one in particular with our student information system. I know this has been a project that has been approached in the past and not necessarily successfully, but this is something that I have a good history with, having done this 3 other times at the 3 districts that I worked to prior to Scranton. So I have confidence in this, in the process, and the implementation and the data conversion. But we're looking for a program that can help us really streamline our processes, but also get everything in one umbrella with terms, under one umbrella, with terms for mass communication, our calling system right now. We currently have our student information system and we have a calling system, and there are programs out there that will do both, and there's no data exchange because everything is in one spot. So there's no nightly exports or imports of information between programs because it all happens under the same umbrella. Many of those same programs will do it in multiple languages because I know that's something certainly that we need to look at as well. Something that we have a little more control of right now, anytime we need to do some major changes to reports or some program features or some custom areas of the program, we have to reach out to our current vendor and ask for, and it ends up being a cost to the district. There are programs out there that'll give us flexibility in creating custom areas of the product, all integrated within the same product as well. Third-party connectivity. We partner with Clever for our students to log in on their Chromebooks. As you've probably heard of Clever a number of times throughout the last couple of years. But there are other third-party vendors that we can share class roster information with directly from our SIS, so that we wouldn't have to go to a third party. And again, just makes that integration a little more streamlined and a little bit more simpler. How are we handling notifications for MARC reporting? How are we handling for grades? How are we handling it for attendance notifications? Those sorts of things are built into other programs that we are not currently receiving right now with our current system. And how can we better communicate what's happening in and out of the classroom to parents to make sure their children are at school and that our attendance rates are rising because they're getting notifications at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. that say your student's not in school today. Also, grade passback, all right, grade book passback. Again, programs out there that we have a large integration of teachers using Google Classroom. And at the end of the quarter, they're taking the information from Google Classroom and then going back to their current grade book and then entering those grades. So there are programs out there that integrate with Google Classroom, with Canvas. I know we're not necessarily using Canvas, but that's another large educational product that's out on the market for grades. Also, single sign-on capabilities, so we're more secure, so we're linked to our Google accounts, and there's not an additional step to log in for teachers. All of these things that just become more check marks to enhance the program that we currently have, but also, again, create efficiencies that many of our staff and our faculty are not experiencing right now. So we have a process in place. We have a committee that we're building, not only with central administration, but building administration. The teachers union has been contacted, so we're going to build out a committee to vet the vendors that we bring in, ask all of the questions that they're going to need asked, and then we'll have a committee recommendation based on those presentations that we can bring back to the board. Right now, our first date for vendor evaluations, I believe, is May 18th or 19th. I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head, but it's in that range. It's a Monday, that third Monday in the month of May.
Any questions for Mr. Suma?
Good. Thank you.
Okay, we will have a discussion, motion to approve the STEM Academy handbook revisions.
So I just want to point out to you, Ms. Miller had put in the handbook this weekend an opportunity to open up 9th grade enrollment to open spots in the STEM Academy. Nobody would be exited from the STEM Academy. But we have had a tremendous amount of interest from students in our non-public schools to come back and interest in applying for the STEM Academy. And if I could get kids in Scranton to come back to our district, it's something I'd really like to pursue. So it would be a handbook approval.
Okay. Under consent, we'll have a motion to approve permissions to attend meetings and conferences, out-of-state field trips, Scranton High School Show Choir, and West High Alps and Mediterranean Coast trip, the 2025-2026 school calendar, flight team agreement with NEIU, and the Marywood University School Psychology Agreement. And then we will have a motion to approve music curriculum Quaver. I'm not sure what that is.
Anne, can you go over what Quavar is?
Quaver.
Good evening, everyone. Quaver is an electronic music curriculum. The elementary music curriculum, the materials that they used are from 1995. So this is a digital subscription for 3 years for grades K through 4. It includes lesson objectives, lesson plans. It has cross-curricular activities incorporating math and reading accessibility. It can be assigned and adjusted for special education students. It has multimedia and multimodal accessibility. It can take external videos such as YouTube and import those into lessons. Teachers can create their own lessons and share them throughout the district. Teachers can develop their own lesson plans as well. It works with any platform, Chrome, Mac, Windows, and iOS. Students could use games and activities for indoor recess. Lessons can be left in Google Classroom for substitutes and shared with classroom teachers. It's also culturally responsive. It practices musical examples from around the world to include diverse population, and it includes career readiness and learns about various jobs available in the music industry. So it's taking a textbook, which is extremely outdated, and it's bringing the digital world into music for elementary teachers and students. And the cost would cover all the licenses for 3 years for our kindergarten through 4th grade kids.
Do we have enough instruments to support this curriculum across our elementaries?
Well, at the elementary, schools have various instruments, but we no longer have like a musical program where kids take violin like they used to, but many schools have instruments that they use when they have their spring concerts.
So you say many schools, so we don't have a unified understanding?
It is not unified. I can
No.
tell you they were drumming at Armstrong this morning.
They have various instruments that they've acquired through fundraisers and throughout the years, but it's not consistent as far as the instruments that they have.
So where did the violins that we used to have go?
I believe they went to the schools, like for instance, the violins at Rep. Bancroft went with the music teacher to John Adams. So whoever has those instruments, they're in storage, but we don't give violin lessons at the elementary
Do
school
we have
like we
any
used to.
inventory of that?
I can find out for you,
You
but
can
off the
get
top
that.
of my head, I can't answer
Yeah,
that.
because I'm just thinking we should know where our instruments are if they're in storage, because I've seen, just a couple months back, I saw a music teacher in one of our buildings try to do a fundraiser to get some extra instruments for his students. So if we have these kinds of things in storage, we could be supporting our music program.
The ones that I'm aware of are stored where the music teacher is. So as I said, schools that relocated, those instruments went with those teachers. So they're not stored somewhere where they're, in a closet. They're with the music teachers. It's just that we no longer have violin like we used to. And there are other instruments that our music teachers have had fundraisers for, like ukuleles and xylophones. drums, different types of things like that that they use for their concerts.
Thank you.
Is this something that we've spoken with our music educators at the elementary
Yes,
level
actually, that's
about?
who brought this up. They brought this up
Okay.
several years ago, prior to when we were updating the academic curriculum materials, but it wasn't a priority at the time. Since we're currently updating the music curriculum, it has resurfaced, and the elementary folks desired to have this. So I have the money in my curriculum budget to afford it, but it has been brought up. This particular platform has been vetted by the outstanding music educators that we have as having everything that they really are looking for.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mrs.
Any other
Brubeck?
questions?
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
And then we'll have a motion to approve special education settlements if there are any.
There are some.
Okay.
Operations.
All right, so we have nothing on the consent agenda, so everything's on the non-consent. First is Robert Morris credit change orders information.
Yes, we will be approving 3 credit change orders for the Robert Morris project. They are for our mechanical construction, our electrical construction, and our plumbing construction contracts. The total credits back to the district for unused allowances total $281,223.95.
Okay, always nice to get some money back.
Yep.
Anybody have questions? No? Okay. Next one, information. West High School Tech Ed credit change orders.
Same, yes, very similar. We will have a credit change order for the general contract, the mechanical and plumbing contract, and the electrical contract for the West High Tech Ed project. In total, the total credits back to the district for unused allowances will be $27,764.74.
Okay. Anybody questions? All right, then we're gonna have a motion to approve Scranton High boiler and water heater replacement bid.
That's correct. Recently, last week, bids for this project were open. There was, I believe, looks like there was 4 total bids received. The bids with alternates selected total $922,000, which on the construction side of the project came in at approximately $398,900 under the budgeted amount.
All right, any questions?
We are moving to a 3-boiler system.
Oh, excuse me, yes.
That's really important. So
So
Scranton High, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So when I said the $922,000, which includes alternates, there's a no-cost increased warranty, which is alternate 1, and the second is moving from a 2-boiler system to a 3-boiler system with an added cost of $61,000. Even with that added cost, again, we're still under budget on the project by almost $400,000.
And in building that large, having the 3-boiler system, if one goes down, allows us to have 2 to keep operating.
Yes. Any questions? All right. Then we're gonna have a motion to approve the South Intermediate and West High fire alarm systems. Bless you.
Again, it's very similar to the boilers. We opened these bids on January 21st. There was a lot of interest in this with a total of 10 bids received. This is for the general contract, the electrical contract, and the environmental abatement. In total, the total contracts total just under $1.5 million, $1,475,000. We are still reviewing some alternates. We are recommending, and this was in the board packet, we are recommending accepting alternate 1B, which is for $41,600, which expands and replaces the area of rescue assistant communication system in West Scranton High School. Mr. Rucker potentially is looking at alternate number 2A and 2B, which is to alternate the system to a Honeywell notifier system in terms as compared to the base bid system, which would be a deduct of about $38,000. In total, I believe the project itself, as it stands right now, is approximately $1,086,000 under budget from what we initially thought. Additionally, these are the projects, this environmental abatement and the fire alarm system are the projects that we were awarded grant money for this past fall. So we did receive $1 million through specifically for the fire alarm system part of this. and we did receive $826,000 from the environmental grant program, which was to recoup some of the environmental work we used in the past, but also offset some of this current contract as well.
Any questions? All right, next here, replacement and environmental contract awarded. And then discussion, multiple things. We'll start off with the Nichols Plaza chiller replacement.
Yes, so as you are aware that we've been operating a temporary chiller at McNichols Plaza. We are interested in, we hope to bring forward to a new temporary option to get us through the cooling season here once the spring starts, but also have a motion to authorize the design and construction of a chiller replacement bid. Dewey has provided us an estimated budget for what a full replacement of the chiller would look like. In total, the budget, which I believe was in the board packet, was which includes construction and soft costs, was about $1,088,350, of which approximately $859,000 of it was related to construction. So we would like to bring that to the board to kind of start this process moving.
All right. And then we're going to have the West Intermediate roofing coordination.
Yes, so there is a memo sent by Mr. Rucker back in November of November 15th, excuse me. But essentially, there was some work that needed to be postponed due to some of the ESSER timelines. But it was, and Rob, I'd ask you to help me with this just a little bit related to the scope of this. But the district will be issuing a purchase order through the Omnia Cooperative Purchasing for $93,000 to essentially finish off this roof project. I would note that the project itself did return a credit to the district of $317,399. So while there is some cost here, we did have some offsetting credits that came back to the district.
Yeah, and that's for the completion of some of the mechanical equipment being installed.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Next, we're going to have the West Intermediate PSP risk assessment. Pennsylvania State Police.
So the part of what we have to do for school safety is have the Pennsylvania State Police come in and do an assessment of all our buildings. One of the things here at West Scranton Intermediate that was recommended was to have ballards installed outside so that nobody could drive up into this building. It's an approximate cost of $14,000. $315. It is not part of the construction plan, and I am recommending to you that you do this for the safety and security of West Scranton Intermediate.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Next, West Intermediate gymnasium ceiling.
So the West Scranton Intermediate gym is a drop ceiling. Not really the best ceiling for a gym. But it's what it is, and it's what was supposed to be replaced. And we are looking at options to not have a drop ceiling in a gym.
As a former student of here, that was quite fun to just try to kick the ball as high as possible to knock one out. I never did it. I was not very athletic.
It's an extra 5 points.
Thank you.
Myself and Director Borthwick were here a few weeks ago, and we saw the ceiling. It definitely,
It's in bad shape.
for all the work we're doing here, fixing that I think would be, make it even nicer. So I think it's definitely a good idea.
Yeah, and Ethan and his team are putting together kind of like a scope of work. And I think, Ethan, once that scope has been defined, it will be presented to the contractors for pricing. Correct.
How much do we estimate it to be?
Ethan, do you have an estimate?
I do not at this time.
We'll bring that.
Yeah, we'll bring it back
to you once we have that.
I know I mentioned this before, and there's been some disagreement on this, but these types of orders, will it be a change order?
Yes, it would be, I think, a credit change order for not installing the drop ceiling, and then it would be a change order with a credit offset partially for the drop ceiling that would not be installed, but for the additional work that's necessary for, I'm assuming, some painting, some lay-in light fixtures, that would require a change order.
I have to be honest with you, Pat. I mean, and I'm only saying this from my past history being in government purchasing. these types of orders I have a real problem with. I feel that they're illegal, and we're circumventing the bidding process. I mean, do what you want to do. I'm just trying to tell you from my past history. I'm always under the impression that a change order is something that maybe the contractor or the architect missed during the design, or something that came up as an actual emergency. Now, I believe that if we had school auditors from the Auditor General coming in, we'd be cited. And I think that we're circumventing the bidding process by just having it done the way that we've been doing it. And do what you want to do. I mean, I'm just giving you forewarning. I'm not an attorney, but I did do purchasing for 18 years in the government setting. And as far as I'm concerned, this doesn't meet mustard.
Did the original plans call to replace the drop ceiling?
Correct.
So now we're just kind of switching the plans.
Correct.
Okay.
Jonathan?
And oh, go ahead, please, Jonathan.
I would just say,
Yeah.
you know, to certainly to alleviate Director Casey's concerns, we can certainly look at it. Change orders, you know, it's a case-by-case scenario, but change orders are certainly legal. But we can certainly review it to see if this is within the original scope and within the original specifications.
I'm not saying that change orders isn't illegal. I'm saying that there's some qualifications that goes into it.
Correct.
One, it has to be something that was missed in the actual plans, or something that was behind a wall that you couldn't tell when you're doing it. Just to do a project, well, we have the contractors here and we have the architect here. Well, let them do it to make our lives easier. That's what I'm saying. And I'm only one director, and I'm voicing my concern from my professional opinion of being a government purchasing agent, head of a department, and I've opened up 2 veterans nursing homes, so I'm familiar with the rules and regulations and what is and what isn't. And I'm just warning the board that I'm telling you right now, in my personal opinion, these change orders they're a little questionable, in my opinion.
I will assure the board that Attorney Huerta or Attorney Fern reviews them.
Thank you.
And I would also note that this project is a RACP project, which does have pretty strict guidelines as well. So, and it comes with oversight from the Office of Budget. So when we do have our next meeting with the Office of Budget from Pennsylvania, I will bring this up as well, just to make sure that we're in
Pat,
compliance.
I'd be remiss if I didn't tell the board.
No, thank you.
All right, anybody else?
Could we get something then in writing after Attorney Huerta and you, Pat, have your meetings?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Western Intermediate floor replacement.
So
I was just going to say that they're out for bid.
yeah, so
They're put out
so
for
I'm
bid.
going to lump floor replacement and corridor painting in. The board had previously been presented with change orders for these, and they were voted down, right? So we've not moved forward with that. Mr. Rucker has finalized one, and I believe is finalizing the other this week. We will be putting that out to bid this week. Both those projects for the floor replacement and the corridor painting here at Western Intermediate.
All right. Any questions? All right, we have Western Intermediate corridor painting.
Same, that's
Same,
it there.
yeah.
Just covered that.
Okay. Western Intermediate generator cost increase.
So I was the one who pushed for the generator to be replaced, and I will always act in transparency with the board. The original bid that went out, there was a labor cost change, and we had kind of waited a while, so the original bid the original price that I gave you, there was construction that was done that we had to go in and work around and remove to be able to get back into the generator because we kept going with the project while we were deliberating this. So it's a $14,000, $14,544.82 additional beyond what was originally approved. Now, I want the board to know that this is something that could have been signed out of that contingency fund, like the contingency funds allowances that came back from Morris and from West, but I would never not tell you openly, especially when I was the one making recommendations, that something costs more.
So we knew we were looking at a couple of different options with this. Why did construction continue? And then we had to, now, my understanding is we had to do demo work before we can get it done?
Ethan, can you help me here?
So construction continued on the renovation project from the time that this generator was put before you as terms of a change order to where it was at when the change order was approved. It was about 8 months.
So we were clear that we were looking at alternatives that could be cheaper. Like we looked at insurance, we looked at bidding it out, which we did, and then we looked at the original proposal, which is what we ended up going with because that was the most cost-effective option. Knowing that we were going to do something, why would construction continue in a way that would require demolition after we actually get to the point where we can install this thing?
The school wouldn't be able to be occupied in those spaces without ceilings and everything that had to take place related to that generator.
Okay. I'm sure I'll pop by and take a look. Thank you.
So that is actually us signing. It's not an allowance adjustment, but I want it to be open and transparent with the board. I would never not do that.
When are you going to do this demo work?
It's not a matter of demo, it's taking out and protecting work that's already done and placing it back in place.
Okay, so what specifically is that going to be?
Ceilings, panels, just work
So you're going to temporarily dismantle them and then reassemble them?
Correct.
And when's the timeline for that?
Timeline will be this summer now.
Okay.
When do we expect this whole project to be over with?
This project, as I've stated before, will be done in the end of October.
Of 25.
Any other questions? All right. So we have the West Intermediate Celestary Window Replacement Main Entrance.
That's a request, correct, Pat, for us to get pricing for that?
Yes, I believe Ethan and his team are getting a cost on that, correct?
That's correct.
Any questions? All right. Next, we're going to go into information, West High Gym Feasibility Study.
So the last time that we met, there was a proposal brought forward for us to go out and to solicit the design, the scope, the potentials for West Scranton High School gym. We haven't met since then. In December, CHA Reef had sent me a memo basically saying that as part of our owner's rep services, that they would do this for, it's not free, we're paying the owner's rep services, but this is part of those services. So they can do that for you. So before we went forward and spent money advertising or anything else, I wanted to bring that forward to the board.
We also had another firm that offered to do it, sent all of us an email, offered to do it for free. I mean, they're welcome to do that work for free, and we can also do the RFP that we voted to send out. I think we voted, in December?
Yes, I did not move, I'm being very honest with you, because that came forward and we haven't had a public meeting.
All I'm saying is ask both of them. They both offered their services. Let them both give us feasibility studies.
That couldn't hurt.
The main thing that I'm concerned about is consistency. We already told one firm no, that they had to go through the bidding process. And now we're having this come up. I mean, all I'm saying is consistency. If we told one firm no, then it's no. Let both of them submit feasibility studies. They both want to do it for free, and then we could compare notes.
Any other questions?
Okay, so I'm just clarifying for myself that I'm to follow the initial directive then?
What I'm saying, now I don't know how anybody else feels about it, you let the two firms come up with a feasibility study and a cost analysis, and then you look at both of them. This way we have something to compare it with, and it's not costing us any money.
Aaron, could you please provide some more information and place that in our packet?
Yes.
We can look at potentially having a vote next week. But give people an opportunity to read more information about both proposals so they can see the
Yes.
options.
Yes, I can.
And we can have it as a motion.
Yes.
Were you also going to provide us with the cost of what
Well,
it
for-
was to put the feasibility study out?
I can give you the advertising costs. I brought this, I didn't, and I'm being honest, I didn't move on it because this was brought to me after that last meeting.
Well, Aaron, I have to believe that if both firms are doing it for free, we don't need to advertise it because there's no cost involved. So you just go and you contact the other vendor who offered their services, who did it 12 years ago. Let them do the same thing that the other firm's doing, and see who comes in, and we could compare notes. We'll have more information than we actually want. But there's no cost involved in it, so there's no reason to bid it or advertise it.
Okay, I will get all that information and have it in the packet this week.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? All right, so we're gonna have a discussion and possible motion, replacement equipment for stadium and front end loader replacement.
I'm gonna have Mr. Rucker talk about this one because it's his wheelhouse.
Thank you. Yeah, at the stadium, I'm loud, I'm sorry. At the stadium, we have a need for upgraded loaders. The two front-end loaders that we have are John Deere's from the early 2000s. I believe they're about 2002. They're pushing 22, 23, 24 years old. They're showing their life, and they've started to fail. One has failed out completely, and we're doing our best to get it back on. So what we're proposing is, getting an updated loader. We're currently renting one from a local dealership here in Scranton. They've been working actually fantastically with us to do that. Had we not been able to perform that rental, we would not have been able to load salt into trucks. Both of our loaders are down. Additionally, the other loader that was our backup, we had been using as a brush for Scranton High School. So what we were proposing in there is to, instead of replacing one of the loaders with a brush, we were looking at replacing the side-by-side at the stadium and allowing for a brush attachment to be put on with that. So instead of a loader sitting for 10 out of the 12 months a year, we'd have the side-by-side that the stadium maintenance uses daily with a brush attachment that can be used over the winter breaks. And additionally, getting the updated loader that we're renting now.
Any questions?
Pat, this is one of the items that I talked to you about that we may be able to find down in
Surplus.
Harrisburg at the state surplus. Before we go out and we buy like that type of equipment, maybe we should actually investigate what is available, what isn't available through the state surplus.
That sounds a good idea.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, and then finally, we're gonna have information and bid updates on two things, the West High AC and West High fire door replacement.
Rob or Pat?
Yeah, this is just another update. Like as we're preparing bids for the West Intermediate flooring replacement and corridor painting, these are two other areas that we're going to be working on bid documents for as well. Just making you aware to expect them to be released very shortly.
Anybody else? Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Rob.
Personnel.
Under personnel, we will have a motion to approve the personnel report and a motion to approve the amendment to the tax collector salary.
Policy.
We're going to have a motion to approve the second read, updates and revisions on 005 organization, 308 employment contract board resolution, 253 SSD update gender identity and expression, 823 opioid antagonist, which is a new title. We're also going to have a motion to approve the first read, updates and revisions on 611 purchases budgeted, 718.1 therapy dogs, and a motion to approve the book of rules and principles of governance and leadership.
I did have a question. Can we elaborate on the changes or the updates made to 005 organization and the revisions to the book of rules? Like, are we just approving them or have any changes been made?
Mr. Gentileza?
He's over there.
Good evening, everyone. I worked with Ms. Orr on doing just the updates that we had in the Book of Rules and maybe Jenny could help me with this a little bit also. We just list everyone's new committees, changes with any school board personnel, the procedures, and the fair funding committees, we added. So it's just basic updates that we've had in the book of rules.
There's no changes to the body of the policies.
No.
So, forgive me if I'm mistaken here, but I thought a couple years ago when the Book of Rules, when that was revised, I thought we didn't have to vote on any changes that were just like committees and stuff like that. I thought it would just be something that we can change and it wouldn't have to come to the board, unless there was like an actual change with, like something else besides that. Does anyone else recall that? Like, I thought Ginny was able to just go in and change, the committees and.
Well, we could go in and change it, but I wouldn't want to have it. I would want to have it approved and have it looked at by everyone. I wouldn't want to just make a change.
I think we've done that just since I've been on the board every year at reorganization. That's when the board has readopted it. Is that correct?
It was always a vote.
We also put in the back who's in charge of what committee now, of all the people, and
Back in the day, they used to sign it, right? Like a big poster or something?
We stood up for the principles of governance.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on policy?
Oh, the therapy dogs. To me, this is like super exciting. I don't know if we can speak to that, like just.
Sure. So, one, I just will share with everyone today as a light moment that Fire Inspector Migots has a dog. Did anyone know that? He may have gotten scratches and good boys today at Armstrong because he's adorable. But two, McNichols Plaza actually had a therapy dog, and then policy needed to be changed and updated to make sure that everything was okay to have a therapy dog in school. So that was really the catalyst to starting this and working with Kingsbride to vet a policy out so that we knew that the insurance was in place, how we would inform any type of allergies or anything else in the building, that we made the right things to protect everyone in the building. So this is the first read of that policy to hopefully get that pupper back into the building and have everything in place. And I won't lie to you, the superintendent keeps begging the business manager for 2 therapy dogs for the school district.
And the board of directors.
we also have a service dog policy, and doing research with Kingsbride and with that team, it's different. Therapy dogs are different than service dogs, so it's more of a social emotional type of attachment. So we developed a policy and with our legal team, and it's in for first read.
Great, thank you. I'm excited about that.
Anything else for policy?
No.
Vendor relations?
Okay. We spoke about this in the vendor relations.
Speak to the mic.
Pardon me?
Can you pull your mic up a little bit, Director Casey?
First time I ever was accused of speaking too low. We spoke about the Tier 2 and Tier 1 RFP releases, informational, PLA document submission.
So that was in your packet this week. On the 9th of January, Pat Dolan sent a PLA to the district. I also sent to you John Freund's legal guidance on PLAs. So those were informational items that I wanted to make sure that the board had so that you had that information. And I am not an attorney, but Attorney Huerta is also, if anyone has any questions, prepared to speak to any questions.
Okay, we have mom and pop contracts, if
Hold
any.
on 1 second. Does anyone have any questions pertaining to the PLA? Or Attorney Huerta?
I guess I'm just wondering like what our next step would be with this at this point. Like, this is informational. We received the document. Like, what would the next step be in this process?
So, in my summary of the document received from Attorney Freund, it's that case by case, we would look at the different projects to see if they qualified for a PLA. So, for example, we had the structural concern at Neil Armstrong. If right now I was told you need to start immediately, we can look to see can we utilize a PLA for that project. We have no existing projects before us right now, major construction projects, but that is how I read the document. I am going to you tell me if I'm wrong.
No, that's correct. So, the next step is really, it's up to the board. I think you received a proposed PLA. Our guidance is that at the end of the day, it really is within the board's discretion, but PLAs, kind of a carte blanche general PLA that's going to apply to every single construction matter or bid matter is going to be problematic, right? Because they get the most scrutiny, and when you just kind of do a carte blanche one, that's going to receive a lot of attention. So, at the end of the day, our goal is to make sure that the decisions you make stick, right? So, our guidance is on a case-by-case basis. If the board believes a PLA is appropriate for that particular project, by all means, one can be reviewed and added to the bid specs, bid documents. But just a carte blanche PLA might be problematic. But at the end of the day, it's up to the board's discretion. An alternative that I believe was mentioned in Attorney Florian's memo that we've seen done, and I believe the city of Scranton has taken this approach, responsible contract ordinance. Certainly the district doesn't pass ordinances, but you could do something similar in the form of a policy. And certainly that policy could, one, represent a responsible contractor themes and requirements, and in addition could also represent that the district will consider the use of PLAs when appropriate. But the case law is pretty clear that PLAs are really for extraordinary circumstances, and when reviewed, they have to be certain not to provide an unfair advantage or equal footing for union versus non-unionized workers.
Can you get us a copy of an RCO, like an example, or even the city of Scranton's?
Sure, yeah,
Just for the
absolutely.
board to review?
Absolutely.
I'll get that from him, and I'll put that in the packet for you
Colonial
guys.
School District also has a policy.
We could
Yeah,
send
that's
that out
correct.
as
Colonial
well.
School District has the actual school policy, so we'll make sure both of them.
Okay. Under the consent, we have mom and pop contracts, if any. We have an update list of transportation drivers, if any, under the consent. Motion to approve payroll preparation tax collector agreement. Motion to approve award school physician service contract.
At this point, just so the board knows, we will be bringing forward the right center for that contract.
Information, possible motion to approve healthcare consultant.
And that you were notified of the findings of the healthcare consultant. Mr. Wolf is here if there's any questions. That was a very lengthy process, large committee.
Motion to approve award PEPM mini bid E-rate contract.
Yes.
Motion to approve Kelly Services addendum to include substitute nurses. And motion to approve Red Rover hiring software. And that's all I have.
Fair funding?
Any questions on anything there?
Jenny, if you could remind me of the fair funding meeting in Oak Forge, the day of it, because I'd really like to attend it.
It's the 13th. It's not the 14th. Everyone could celebrate their Valentine's Day with their loves. It's Thursday the 13th, not Friday the 14th. That is the fair funding meeting. And I'd like to thank Director Fox because she hooked me up with another organization she's involved in that I'm also going to get information from and have a meeting with as well.
Well, we were going to go to fair funding, but they just took your thunder.
Sorry.
Everyone took care of everything for me tonight, so thank you very much.
You got anything
May
else?
I ask one question, though? I apologize for missing the community relations. Is that all right, President Holmes?
Yes.
The baby grand piano, how is that being moved? I didn't see that in the
I have
information.
no idea.
I I saw the donation receipt, but if there's information about the moving, I missed
Yeah,
that.
you need professionals for that.
Yeah, that thing is huge.
Well, and you don't want the action destroyed.
I can check with Principal Coyle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron, Beck, Al, anything?
Could-
Motion?
Could I just ask one
Absolutely.
thing while we're here with Ginny? I don't think we got the bill list, did we?
No, you will have it this Friday
Okay,
before, yeah.
so can I just pull the bill list and the exception bill list from consent? That's it.
Everything else is okay, consent, anything you want to add?
That's all I see.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Bye.